This episode of Southeast Iowa Today is brought to you by Griner Auto Body of Washington, Iowa, using state-of-the-art techniques and decades of experience to get your car back on the road after an accident. Car Doctor of Washington, Iowa. No matter who Frankensteined it, they can fix it, clean it, and customize it. McDonald Boatyard of Keota, Iowa, for all your farm equipment and auto recycling needs. For great food, it's your choice family restaurant of Wayland, Iowa. Open Tuesday through Sunday. Try the John Bain sandwich on your next visit. Girling Repair of Winfield, Iowa. If your mower is dead, call Fred, your Husqvarna, Aaron's, and Gravely dealer. Fred also fixes and sells snow blowers. B&B Propane and the family of jet stops. CW Tree Trimming, LLC. We're into your trees, not your wallet. Serving all of Henry County and the surrounding area, and we offer a senior citizen and veteran discount.
Iowa Technology Systems delivers professional IT services. From company networks to home computers, we keep you connected with reliable service you can trust. Enterprise IT services, quality computers, and local IT support. All designed to keep your technology running smoothly. Visit www.iowatechsys.com to see how our services can help you.
They all present the award-winning Southeast Iowa Today. Here's the author of Christie's Journey, The Beat Goes On, and your host, John Bain.
Thank you, announcer Cody Roy of NewEnglandDukes.com for your golden pipes and wonderful introduction. It's Thursday, January 15th, 2026, and I'm back at the Henry County Courthouse in Mount Pleasant, Iowa for the Board of Supervisors weekly meeting. On the agenda, approval of minutes, County Engineer Jake Hotchkiss, weekly update, motion number 01-2026-20, contract with Calhoun-Burns for bridge inspections. P&Z Joe Buffington, approval of resolution number 3-2026 of construction evaluation master's matrix. P&Z Joe Buffington compensation for 911 salary. Motion to appoint Gloria Fear to the Board of Health for the term 1/1/2026 through 12/31/2028. Motion of appointment to boards, approval of agenda formatting, Supervisors Sub-committees, and of course, public comment.
Let's rise, say pledge of allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to convene the January 15 meeting of the Henry County Board of Supervisors. First item of business is approval of the agenda as it's printed.
I'll second with discussion.
Been motioned and second for discussion. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I was recently made aware that our agenda is put together and then sent to the county attorney without our visibility, our knowledge, or our approval. So I'm a little concerned that as supervisors, we should be more in control of the agenda and would like to get that corrected and changed in the future.
And to tag along with that, item number 8 today is approval of agenda formatting, so that will lead into further discussion onto that topic as well. So, anything further on the agenda?
No.
All in favor of the agenda being accepted, indicate by aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Approval of the minutes as written.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Any discussion on the minutes?
Just a couple little Scrivener errors, nothing major.
Okay. favor of adopting the minutes as written, indicate by aye.
Aye.
Aye. I believe that was unanimous. Item number 3 of the agenda today is County Engineer Jay Hotchkiss weekly update with a motion for a contract for Calhoun-Burns for a bridge inspection.
Yep.
Okay?
Yeah, so I think we're going to get started here with this motion. So the motion that I've got prepared here is a motion for January 15, 2026, number 1-2026-20, to enter into a contract with Calhoun-Burns and Associates Incorporated for bridge inspections in Henry County for 2026 and 2027, and that the chairman of the Henry County Board of Supervisors is authorized to execute said contract.
So moved.
Would there be a second to that motion?
A second.
Being properly moved and seconded, any discussion on that? Jake, is there anything you want to unpack on that?
Yeah, so the reason it's a 2-year contract is, our bridge inspections are typically, by, the classification or the condition of those bridges, they're either on a 1, 2, or 4-year cycle. And so the way they have it set up right now, that we're looking at a light year for 2026 and a larger year in 2027. A majority of our bridges that they will do on a 2-year cycle. A lot of our newer bridges that we've replaced are on a 4-year cycle. So it just depends on how they come in. So we look at it on a 2-year contract is typically how we cover with Calhoun-Burns. Every 2 years we come and bring you a new proposal just to enter into that. Just to give you some cost. So what we're looking at, we have 25 structures coming up in 2026. That would be a quote of $8,500 for them to do the inspections, the paperwork, the updates that they have to do per SIMS. And then in 2027, we have 80 structures, and that would be $22,000 to do that same work. They do have some other estimates in there if they have to do some additional load ratings and different things that would come through, requirements through the process with the feds that we're dealing with. So they have been under contract with us since 2013. So we do utilize them for quite a bit. They do a lot of our bridge design on some of our bigger structures as well, and those are separate contracts that we do for each individual bridge.
Any further discussion on the periodic maintenance of county's bridge systems?
I don't. I was just gonna ask about the cost, so fill us in on that, so I think I'm good with that.
Okay.
No further questions. I'd move to have a recorded vote made on this.
It's not a resolution.
It's a motion to spend some money. Okay. Everybody in favor say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Not hearing any. It passed 3-0. So
I'll start it down this end. So you can sign to that one. And then, here is the front page where it's got a bar. Thank you. Okay. So, maintenance update. We were had some good working weather here with the weather that we've been dealing with. So, brush, J20 near Lexington Avenue, we were removing trees in the right of way. That was something we have been working on. We got back to it, as of yesterday actually, and we're gonna continue working east. We were kind of working near Lexington, or a small bridge that we have on J20, and then they're gonna continue working east, cutting trees down, and stockpiling those, and then, working eventually on burning them at their location when we get there. So, and some agreements that we've had, we have some, temporary, work out of the right of way with some of the landowners, so we can hopefully try to open up some more sunlight to J20 kind of going up that hill. So just to try to help dry things up if we can. So we have had good coordination with the landowners out there to make those improvements. Culverts. It's not typically our time of year that we replace culverts, but with the way the weather has and some culverts that had some issues. Yesterday we replaced one at 120th Street in Nashua. And then today we're actually replacing one on Fremont Avenue near Salem Cemetery, where we had a hole that popped up after those recent rains. So a lot of that's just that there's not a lot of frost right there in those locations, and we're able to fit them in. Now they will require us to kind of keep an eye on them. Usually when this time of year, when you're trying to get things compacted back in, we may have a few issues with that we'll have to keep an eye on it. But not something you typically see us doing in January, but it just kind of worked out with the way the weather's going right now. Durapatcher, we were doing that last week. We also continued that on Monday and Tuesday of this week. Again, going over pavements, trying to fill those potholes in. You may notice it if you're driving out there with the Durapatcher this time. We do fill it a little high, and you'll see when traffic starts to drive on it, they will work themselves down. A good example I kind of used was J20 from Salem to 218. On those, they're a little rough to start with, but now when you drive them, not near as bad as they were. But it's kind of letting that work in and get glued in, I guess is the way we describe it. Okay. Territory operators have been blading. Today we have almost, or all of them are actually their blades today working. One of the common things that we've seen is just we're pulling that windrow out. We've had a few people say, hey, the road's kind of sloppy, and they were sloppy when we pulled them out. They are drying up pretty well. We're trying to get that rock back out there so that it isn't sitting there when we get the next snow when it comes. So things are moving in the right direction on that, but when they do work a road, it is a little sloppier after they get done with it. So it may seem like we're taking a step backwards, but in the process of trying to get that material out there and utilize it. Miscellaneous construction, 235th Street Bridge. Contractor started removing the existing beams. So he started working on the north side of the bridge and pulling those beams off. And then they're cutting them up for transport, so they're making them into shorter pieces. So right now it's kind of a slow process, but we are now making that next move. They got the crane sitting down there with that rain. We were having some issues with them just getting things situated with the mud. But right now they're able to get some work done, so that's good to see. The next item here is we kind of talked about submitting a grant for INWCA for that polycarbonate guard for excavator. We got it installed. We were not successful in the grant. Some of the parameters that they had, they felt like it didn't quite fit. I kind of showed you guys some pictures so you can kind of see what that looks like on the back. Roughly that was around $4,000 for that door that we're adding. It does allow us to move it in and out so they can clean it, but it gives the operators some good protection. If something would swing back in, we don't have to worry about any issues with that happening, I guess.
So are you able to use that ICAP grant then instead?
We could, we did not. I think there's enough other opportunities, and kind of based on our meeting the other day, I think that would be where the committee gets together and decides what entity is gonna utilize that, that we're all on the same page on that. So I did not make a request for that yet, but, you know, typical things we've used the ICAP dollars for is slings and, lifting chains so that we're compliant with those. So as those wear out, we've utilized that $1,000 in the past for things like that. So, okay. But I think the last time we talked, or at least on Tuesday, there was, I think that's something the group would want to decide who's gonna go after that. Again, I'm coming up on the 20th for a budget presentation. One question I had about that is a lot of times they will bring a projector in and we put a screen up there and show, do you want me to do that or do you want to use the TV?
I'd rather use the TV if you guys are all right with that. We can plug in.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
HDMI, yeah.
Okay, so
We'll just sit back there and you can be up here.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, as long as I can get the laptop to hook up there, we should be good, and we'll plan on that. The other thing was that for NACE, this year, that's the National Association of County Engineers, I was planning on attending this year. We do have an Iowa engineer that is the president of NACE right now, so we're trying to get a good group to attend that. Typically, I go, it's not every year, but this would be a year I'm gonna go, as long as you guys don't have any objections to that. I was planning on attending NACE again this year.
When is that?
It's in April.
Okay.
During calving season, so I have to make sure I work that out with my dad, but so far we got that taken care of.
It's a good plan.
Yeah, so, but yeah, that's kind of what I'm planning on doing, so I just wanted to let you guys be aware of that. much it, unless you guys have questions for me.
I just wanted to follow up on, you had asked us a couple of weeks ago in reference to the 29th. I don't know if we can talk about this later, Chad, but that's the ISAC meeting.
Yep.
So we obviously can't have a meeting if we're all going to ISAC, and Jake was asking specifically when we were gonna schedule that week. So if you wanna bring that up later, we can, but we need to make sure we get that scheduled.
Would it work moving that to the 27th?
It's fine with me.
So no meeting this month on the 29th, right?
Correct, because of the ISAC conflict.
Okay, I will plan on the 27th.
27th, okay.
Thank you.
I think we have you covered. Oh, did Governor talk with you yesterday about your IT situation?
Phones, you mean?
Phones and updated access and speed on the internet?
Not yet, no. I know he was working with some stuff. We had some issues with phones this
We
week.
did yesterday, yeah.
Yeah.
From like 12:15 to 12:45, everything
Yep.
was down.
Yep, it was, I had a couple phone calls and then we'd be talking and it went out and
Yeah.
it was just kinda crazy, but.
He
yeah.
now, let's go yesterday, so he's got some good news for you if you wanna visit with him.
Okay, I'll swing up and talk to him later then. Yep.
Okay,
All right, thank you guys.
thank you.
Thank you.
Pfeiffer Sawmill, your local home for kiln-dried lumber and affordable trailer decking to your specifications, all in Rome, Iowa, serving Mount Pleasant and all surrounding areas. Do you like to throw a hatchet? They've got your board. Call Ben today at 319-931-4544. Did you know that I'm not only one of your favorite podcasters, or even your favorite podcaster, but that I'm an author too? That's right. I'm the author of this book right here, Christy's Journey, The Beat Goes On. This is a true story about my daughter and my family. Back in June of 2019, my daughter Christy, at 29 years old, experienced cardiac arrest while at work at her job in Northeast Texas. The Lord lined up angels to save her, from her fellow employees to first responders to the doctors that figured out what was wrong. It was quite a journey. It turns out that Christy was born with a birth defect in her heart, something her mother and I never knew. Her pulmonary artery was on the wrong side of her heart. Christy was saved, and our entire family is eternally grateful and thankful. I would tell our story to different people and I would say, the Lord has a plan for us, but I'm not smart enough to know what that is. So many times people would respond to me that I should write a book. Well, I'll tell you, it was the best thing that I could have done, and I hope you are interested in checking it out. If so, it's in lots of libraries in Iowa and in Texas. If you would like to have your own copy of our inspirational experience, you can get it online wherever books are sold, or go to bobaindesigns.com and get it for $13.57, which is over $3 off the retail price.
Next item of business is the Planning and Zoning, Joe Buffington, approval of Resolution 3-2026, which is a construction evaluation or the master matrix for that. He has provided that document to me. You may want me to ask him to come in, so if there's any questions or anything for it.
Well, it needs to be for the next item, so.
Yeah.
Let me grab them.
Yeah, please. I'll go ahead and read this resolution, and then he can kind of explain that if he's unpacked that any. Resolution number 3-2026, construction level evaluation resolution. Whereas Iowa Code Section 459.304, paragraph 3 sets out the procedures if a Board of Supervisors wishes to adopt a construction evaluation resolution relating to the construction of confinement feeding operation structures. And whereas only counties that have adopted a construction evaluation resolution can submit to the Department of Natural Resources an adopted recommendation to approve or disapprove a construction permit application regarding a proposed confinement feeding operation structure. whereas only counties having adopted a construction evaluation resolution and submitted an adopted recommendation may contest the DNR decision regarding a specific application. And whereas by adopting a construction evaluation resolution, the Board of Supervisors agrees to evaluate every construction permit application for a proposed confinement feeding operation structure received by the Board of Supervisors between February 1, 2026 and January 31, 2027, and submit an adopted recommendation regarding the application to the DNR. And whereas the Board of Supervisors must conduct an evaluation of every construction permit application using the master matrix as provided in section 459.305, but the board's recommendation to the DNR may be based on the final score of the master matrix or may be based on reasons other than the final score on the master matrix. And now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Supervisors of Henry County that the County Board of Supervisors, Henry County, Iowa, will evaluate construction permit application relating to construction of the confinement feeding operation structure and submit applications, recommendations to the Iowa Department of Natural Resources as provided for pursuant to Iowa Code Section 459304, paragraph 3. So, Joe, would you unpack that meaning?
Master matrix is in place for any, confined feeding operation that goes over 1,000 animal units. For a hog confinement, that's about 2,500 head. Right, we haven't had one actually since 2019. They're not.
I was just gonna ask you.
They're not very common anymore. They tend to do smaller ones just to get around the master matrix. I put a map with I think Chad may have had it. Which counties adopted? It's basically the same counties. There's about, I don't know, 10 or 12 that don't adopt it every year. But if we don't adopt it, we can evaluate it. If we do, and we can, if one comes through, we can look at it, verify the points are correct.
So this is for any CAFO, confined animal feeding operation?
Anything over 1,000 animal units. Under that, we don't have any input under 1,000 animal units.
You said it was different for hogs.
Yeah, hogs are, well, and it depends if they're feeders or piglets, but a regular, normal sized hog is like, would be 2,500, I think they're 0.4 animal units. And a chicken is like 0.001 animal units, and a cow is 1 animal, it's, yeah. You have to
Based
look
on
in
the size of the animal?
Yeah, you have to look in the manual to figure it out.
Okay.
But that's off the top of my head. But we've done it every year since they started it, and there's no reason not to have it.
Okay. You also commented that commonly the units are built smaller than what would be required for this.
They have been for the past.
And would you explain why that is?
I think it's just a financial decision on the producer's part.
And they don't, is there some reason that they don't have to follow certain?
That's what the legislature says.
Yeah, I know it's nothing
No,
we do
nothing
here or
we can
anything,
do.
it's just,
I know there are certain counties that have tried to reopen this master matrix question because there are a lot of loopholes in it. And, the legislature has no appetite. It was, you remember the fight over it almost 25 years ago now. It was a nightmare. I don't think anybody that remembers it wants to go back into it again. But I know there have been several board supervisors that have tried to open it up and get some of these loopholes closed, but it's.
just doesn't get any traction.
No, there's a bill usually every year and it never makes it to committee, so.
Any further discussion or comments, or questions or anything on it?
Motion to approve the resolution.
Mark
Second.
making the, and Steve making the second, I would call for the vote, a roll call vote on that.
Dietrich,
Yes.
Lindy,
Yes.
White.
Yes. The resolution will be signed off and that will be in place again this year as it has been for a large number of years, I guess.
About 22, I think, off the top of my head.
So then you have to send that into the state? and
Yeah.
Get it certified, okay.
As soon as Robin signs it, I will scan a copy and send it off to the DNR.
Okay.
And then I'll bring it back to you as soon as I scan it.
Just a question on the procedural thing. If it's under the master matrix, Is there still some requirements for distance separation? From
Well, there's-
another resident, from a
There's
residence,
1,875 feet from a residence,
no matter what.
no matter what, it has to be 1875, and then they have to get 440 out of the 880 points in the master matrix, which is usually pretty simple to do. I'll go ahead and send that off as soon as we're finished here.
Okay, I think that finished up that business. Moving to item number 5, it's P and Z, it's also with Mr. Buffington, compensation for 911 salary for the work that is completed on 911 tasks. Joe, I'll let you talk about that. You requested to be
Right.
addressed to the board.
I've brought this up several times over the past several years and really haven't gotten a direct answer. So I think it's time, I guess, to get a direct answer. I do all of the database management for the 911 system. That's, at this point, since 2019, the database has been spatially, it's a spatial database where it's basically built on GIS. It's based on location. There are several layers that the state requires us to keep: law enforcement, fire, emergency zones, PSAP boundaries, so on and so forth, the center lines of the roads, the address points, and we have to turn those in, we have to upload those to the state once a month. They verify them for accuracy, and then based on that accuracy, if we're above 98%, the county gets $1,000 a month for every month that they're above that 98% accuracy. We've been at 100% since January of 2021. We're still only one of only 3 counties that are 100% accurate in the state, even after 6, almost 7 years. I have all the counties here if anybody's interested in the different numbers. Henry County, we manage 657,000 GIS data points. But the 911 board receives a $12,000 a year grant to offset the cost of maintaining that database. I do the work through the county. I don't believe in getting any compensation for doing that 911 work. I've been asking for several years. That job has increased dramatically since they put this, since it went from being an analog database to a digital GIS database. I put a lot of work into it up front, since I think we had 1,400 lines of incorrect data that we started off with. Took all that out of there. It's now in great shape. But it's gotta be done. And I don't see, the 911 board besides just me, the 911 board doesn't compensate the county for any of that work, even though they're being paid by the state for that work.
Well, Joe, I commend you on the accuracy, that's really good. I got more questions for you. Isn't this part of your job description?
Well, I don't know if it is or not.
Who wrote your job description?
I wrote down what I do,
Okay.
in hopes that you'd actually, during this pay matrix, that you'd actually compensate me for the amount of work I do, which that's silly on my part to expect that. But I tried to explain just how many tasks I complete, and many of them I don't believe I'm compensated for. I mean, what I turn in is 6 pages long. I do a lot of jobs. I wear a lot of hats. I gave you guys all, since 2016, with the exception of conservation, which is the only department that's changed directors in that time frame, I have had the least number of raises of any department in the county. I don't know why my job duties have increased significantly in that time frame, yet I'm left behind year after year. As you can see, I got the county to work around me. The raises that they've received in the past 10 years, only one county's had a lower percentage of raises than I have. Other counties are increasing, they're significantly more than me. It just seems like I do more work, and I guess because I was good enough to take on things that nobody else could or would take on, maybe I just made a mistake by trying to be efficient.
Are you putting in more than 37.5 hours a week?
Depends on the week. I put in what has to be put in. You know, when I first corrected this, I probably put in 100 hours a week. I was here until 2 a.m. correcting this because there was a deadline. And I was here and got it done by the deadline, but I was here till the middle of the night doing it.
I think to Mark's point, you're an exempt employee though, correct?
I am.
Okay. Well, Chad, I'm as supervisor, and as chairman, I'm gonna make a point of order here for you. I think we're out of process. This seems to be an HR concern, an HR matter. I think HR and this team and Joe need to discuss this more thoroughly. Joe, if you wanna do a closed session, that's obviously available to you, since it's talking about you and your salary and some other items that would fall into that category, but I would move that we're out of order here from a process standpoint.
Not that we're out of order, you'd like to move it to.
Point of order to move it to
Okay.
an HR session.
So basically, you just want to have Paul involved.
That is correct. He's our HR representative.
I think it is an HR issue. And guys, I'm asking for expertise because I don't have a lot of it in this parliamentary procedure realm. Since the request was made to address the Board of Supervisors by Joe, and I verified that on the second day to verify that he wanted to be in front of the Board of Supervisors, is that the proper venue to talk about it? I get Steve's thought is there that, you know, our HR representative does have some expertise in that matter and would have some additional things to add to that. I guess.
I will agree with Steve, because of what we have asked our department heads prior, when we took on this compensation study. I think it behooves us to, have Joe and Paul involved with us together.
Okay.
And procedurally, I see nothing wrong that we could just say that we've taken this under advisement and would like to have a meeting with Paul, with Joe's presence. Whether it's a closed session, that's Joe's decision.
I will reach out to Paul and schedule something at the earliest convenience.
And you can let us know if you want that to be a closed session.
I'll let you know.
So I guess procedurally, how do we end this conversation and this meeting to do that? Would that be by motion?
No, I don't think we have to make a motion. I think to Mark's point, we gave Joe this opportunity to speak, which we agreed to do on the agenda, and we've done that. And if he wants to continue the conversation with HR, we're welcome to do that. That's really his opportunity to delve into it deeper.
I will reach out to Paul immediately after this meeting and get something scheduled and let all involved here know for that time and date.
Thank you. Joe,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item of business is the item number 6. There's
there's a motion needed to appoint Gloria Fear to the Board of Health for the term of January 1, 2026 through 12/31/2028. My understanding, there was a small gap in coverage dates from the interview and appointment, and we need to adjust this back to the beginning of the calendar year to be inclusive, so.
I make a motion to appoint and accept Gloria Fear to the Board of Public Health.
I'll second that.
Do you want to include the dates involved there in the motion?
We can reword that motion if you like, add words or strike words. Yeah, I'll reword that motion. I'll strike a couple of words and then add a couple of words here. So I'd like to make a motion to appoint Gloria Fear to the Board of Supervisors for the term of
Board of Health.
Board of Health, I'm sorry. Yeah, that would be even better, wouldn't it? Board of Health for 1/1/26 through 12/31/28, a full term.
That's second.
And there's been a second, okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor of that motion indicate by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, that did pass, so.
Moving to item number 7, motion of appointment to other board members. Has there been any movement on the other board member contacting, reaching out, or anything back? So,
Yes. We have applications for the Conservation Board, and I think in the discussions that we've had, similar to what we talked about with all of the other applications, we've narrowed that down. I think we've narrowed this down to Gary Ibbotson for the Conservation Board. He's currently extremely involved with the Conservation Group and would be a good he's a good applicant and would be a good candidate for us. So I would make a motion that we accept Gary Ibbotson's application to the County Conservation Board. Effective January 1, 2026 through 12/31/28. Is that the right term?
Yeah.
Okay. Because some of those vary.
Okay, motion has been made to appoint Gary Ibbotson to the Conservation Board vacancy. Would there be a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Discussion.
Go ahead.
I saw both of them, and I don't know either one of them, so I sort of, less so, because I can't make a good decision on either one that way. I mean, not knowing either one.
In my discussion with Caleb, he thought both candidates were good, very qualified. In talking with the second candidate, which was David Tedrow, he said that he would be interested if there was no other candidate, and he would like to continue to stay on the list, but it wasn't a priority for him for this coming year. Okay. He's also involved with some other areas on the Salem City Council as well, so I think he's looking long-term to have other things to do. So he was very open to this being moved out, because there are some terms coming up in the next year. And then Caleb and I talked a little bit with Gary, and Gary is very interested, so he's got a high priority for him, because he has really shown some great interest and been extremely involved.
Any further discussion on that? Okay, it has been motioned and seconded to appoint Gary Ibbotson to the Henry County Conservation Board for this year's appointments. Retroactive back January 1 through that term. So everybody in favor say aye.
Aye.
I will abstain.
I will say aye. No oppositions possible, so. That motion did pass, so. Steve, do you want to reach out to Gary and
let him, or I can as well.
I will.
Make sure
I'll
that
talk
it
to
gets
Caleb
done
as well.
anyway.
Yep, sure. And then, we had one for, just one, for the Pioneer Cemetery, Chad, and I'll have to abstain from this or recuse myself,
Okay.
because it is a relative.
Yep. Mark, do you know anything of that one?
As stated prior, this committee has no beginning date, ending date. Whoever wants to be on it can be on it, and so I will move, and it is Gary. Randy Dietrich, I'll make that motion.
There's a motion to place Randy Dietrich on the Henry County Pioneer Cemetery Commission for this term. There are no ending terms. It's as interest until you don't want to do it any longer.
You better move it. I move you second it.
Yeah, I will second that motion. And all in favor of that motion indicate by aye.
Aye.
Aye. And Steve abstains because of the relationship there. I will reach out to Randy. I'll make sure that Randy is notified of that appointment to the Henry County Pioneer Cemetery Commission. That is a non-compensated work group is what that is, basically. So, if anybody else is interested, I'd entertain anybody to fill out an application for that, because they always need able-bodied people to complete the work of the restoration and maintenance of the cemeteries as well.
One thing that follows up with our appointments to the boards here is, yesterday, Chad and I were on a ITIP conference call. One of the things that came up, and Katie asked about this earlier as well, was whether or not these folks need to be included in open closed sessions training session, and they all do. All the new people that were elected after 1 July or appointed after 1 July of 2025. So all these people need to be notified that they need to take that training. And then it was recommended that the director of that department hold on to those certifications once they're done. So the certification is really them taking the webinar or being engaged in an in-personal, and you cannot take just an online presentation after the fact. You have to be engaged in the webinar. And then whoever registers for that, that certification will be sent to them because of the address that they provided with the registration. So we just need to follow up with every one of those folks that's been appointed or selected to be on a board or a commission.
And looking through here, on the, it's not an appointment, but it's a topic that has not been discussed and has not been approved. It's part of our handbook. It's the vehicle reimbursement mileage. I mean, it's set at 50 cents per mile right now for any reimbursed miles of your personal vehicle driven. I don't think it's really the place to bring that up. It's part of our handbook, isn't it?
It is, but when we sent this out, we said that we would address it every 6 months, and if we needed to reevaluate it, we would. And if we see no reason to reevaluate it, it stays the same.
Okay. Well, with that being said, is there an interest in increasing or decreasing or modifying in any way that vehicle mileage?
What was it, 50?
50 cents per mile driven. Hearing none, I'd entertain just a motion to
I don't think we need a motion on it.
just keep it.
Yeah, I don't believe we can make a motion
Okay.
at this point, yeah. We'll just keep it as is.
Were there any other topics on that sheet that needed to be addressed?
The holidays.
The holidays. Was there any interest in adjusting holidays and personal days?
I visited with Kelly, she's the only one I thought might have a concern because of the dates. And you didn't seem to have any concerns that we talked about, right?
I can't take off I can't close my office, any earlier than some of the others can, because I am required, for those people, especially on the last day of the year, people who want to make sure get their stuff paid for income tax reasons, I have to stay open, where my office was the only office that was open all day on the 31st of December.
Right.
So, I mean, if you guys want to entertain adding time on to any day, I'm not opposed to it, but, the 31st, I mean, we ended up having over 50 people come in between noon and 4:30. So, and that is for tax reasons, so, and that's property taxes as well as vehicle that you can remove from your, or have that credit, so.
That was the only concern I had.
Okay,
Making sure that we
just so
were aligned
everybody's
on that.
clear that we're not adding any additional holidays. We're not adding any additional personal days. We're not adding any additional benefits, period. It's on circumstances, as Kelly has outlined, the usage and the ability to utilize those holidays and time off don't always comply with the schedules of everybody, so. I guess I'm open for suggestions on how to correct that or modify that so that works.
I think it works. I think from our handbook, people that want to take that time off have to use vacation or personal. So,
Which is they do.
which is
They do.
which is good. They're all in alignment. So I've been working with Kelly.
Yeah, it's just a, how do I
Not
explain,
Kelly,
how
the
do I
treasurer's
explain
office,
that to
sorry.
my, how do I explain that to my, staff, but it is what it is. They're employed through the treasurer's office has to stay open.
You
So-
have the ability to say when your office is open.
Okay. Consider that addressed then?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else on that? Okay, the number 8 is the approval of an agenda formatting. Discussion is needed on the format to be used. Let's have that talk, let's open that talk up. Let's talk about what we see the need for being for our meetings and our agenda. Steve, this is something that you've been studying, I know. Go ahead and share your ideas and thoughts.
Okay, well, the current agendas, as I mentioned earlier, concerns me because as the secretary of the board creates those items are then sent down to the attorney, and I think we need to be more engaged up front when we create that agenda. So I think we could be a little more detailed when we come to creating the agenda. I think we have to do things a little more in line, not just with Robert's Rules of Orders, but also with IPIB's recommendations as well. And we saw some of that yesterday again. And I know, Chad, you were on that phone call, as were several dozen people. IPIB gives some pretty good examples of what we can do to run a better and more efficient meeting. So one of those obviously is beginning the meeting as we do, but then having a roll call, whether that's normal or not, doesn't make a difference for us. We've never done it, but many counties do a roll call, and that would make sure that all three of us are here and ready to go. The other thing that we can do is, as we create the agenda, we can talk about old business. It can't just be a generalized category of old business. We have to itemize those things. Like, for example, today we had appointments to our boards and commissions. That would fall under old business. Looking at the calendar would fall under old business, and making sure we had those dates aligned. Those are the types of things that we could be a little more specific on, and so that when you and I and Mark are talking about those, we can make sure that we're in alignment and have some notes ready if we have any questions. And then we can go to new business, for example, where new business would be anything we just talked about. Motions of appointments, that was new business. It was a little bit of a carryover, but we had to get that done. Working with Joe, that's new business and those types of things. I'm not quite sure, again, that Joe thing was necessarily in our process and should have been an HR thing, but anything that would come under new business and outline those more in a format that we all see bullet points, 1, 2, 3, 4, so we're following it more strictly and more uniformly, and then we can have discussion of those. And the other thing I think is making sure that we have at the end of that public comments, because when you look at a variety of agendas throughout the county and throughout the states, public comments are either at the beginning or at the end, and my preference would be at the end so that people can see the agenda, and if they want to comment on comments during the agenda, then we can have that towards the end of the agenda rather than up front, so they understand what's happening. And then the other thing I think would help us, there's a little confusion in our group here, and that's between the three of us, is when we make a motion or we make a resolution, is it a vote or is it a roll call? You know, a lot of counties are doing roll calls for everything, motions as well as resolutions, and I think if we just do that, make a roll call for everything, it's more consistent and it's easier, and we don't have to go back and forth and say, hey, did we do that? And then we can get with the secretary of the board and make sure that we made that resolution and if we're all in alignment. So those are some of the things I'd like to see changed and approached differently, and I think to help the secretary of the board out, I think we need to obviously get those agenda items together on Monday at the very latest, so we have the opportunity to review those and make sure we're all in sync, and then allow her the 24-hour time frame to be able to get those posted. Mark?
My question to you is, on the new and old business, do they have to be listed what they will be?
They don't all have to be listed, but I think we need to make sure that those items that are carryovers are definitely listed, so that we cover those. So any carryover item needs to be detailed and listed under old business. Like, for example, we talked about
I understand the
boards
old
last
business, but
week.
I'm more concerned with the new business.
One of the takeaways I took away from watching that presentation yesterday was that, you know, we might remember it pretty vividly, you know, a couple meetings ago. But if there was an issue that come up that has to be reviewed 2 years ago or a year ago, somebody picks that up and is like, what is that? What's that mean? What's that all about? Then they would look at the meeting minutes and try to reconcile that with the agenda. And the idea that I took away was, if it's a little clearer, a little bit more concise of what the topics being discussed were and what the end result was. The end result is better than the wordplay to get there. You know, it's what the end product was of that discussion.
So my concern is on the new business. Can anything be brought up at that time, which then we have not had 24-hour notice?
No, to your point, no.
So any new business has to be itemized.
Any new business should be itemized, that's correct.
No, that should be, has to be.
Has to be.
I'm not sure, we need to get some clarification on that. I know there are lots of opinions floating around, but we specifically asked that question yesterday in the IPID, and we didn't get a very clear answer. You know, because if you think, last week, we had a conversation about boards and appointments, and you know, some folks shared their Robert's Rules of Order knowledge with us that you can't vote on anything that's not on the agenda. Well, Robert's Rules says you can, ISAC says you can, but IPED said no. So we don't have very clear definition on yes or no on that yet. We're working on that, to your point. But 2 of 3 entities say you can. And we talked a little bit with Steve Gablehausen too, and so he's gonna try to help us through some of that. If that doesn't answer your question, but it gives you some background.
Correct.
But isn't this already new business when it's on the item? That's what on the agenda. That's clearly new.
Yes, it is.
It is,
I'm
but
just saying,
get
on my
the
question was
asking the
broad,
question.
Yeah.
if it was not on the, if the new business has to be on the agenda.
That's the way I was always trained.
Well, again, it goes back to who you talk to. So that's why we've asked the assistant county attorney for a little input here to make sure that we're covered where they go and everything is legitimate. But again, it goes, like I said, IPIP says you have to have it on the agenda, but ISAC and Robert's Rules of Orders do not say that.
No, opened the websites for different counties and just looked at their published agendas and things like that. And, you know, I looked at the Iowa Board of Regents. I know they're not a county board supervisor, I get that. But I looked at Dubuque County, you know, I looked at Washington County, I looked at Lee County. I mean, there's a lot of, well, there's 99 different, counties to look at, you know, there. And rather than reinvent the wheel, if it works in the majority of places, it probably ought to work here as well, you know, type thing. And,
Do they all look different though when you look at them?
most
Or
of them have
similar?
the same elements of it.
Right, so are they right or wrong too? I don't know.
We don't.
That's
Well,
what I'm
It's a good
asking.
question, but I think it still just goes back to us getting an agenda that we're all comfortable with.
So, you know, Steve has I'm gonna call it an example agenda here. You know, versus everybody sees what we have worked off of for a number of years. Some of them get really, really complex, and I kinda like what's the old acronym, the KISS principle. I think everybody's aware of that. Keep it simple, super simple, I'm gonna say. But I think if we can keep it as plain and clean as possible, but still cover the elements of where somebody, if they wanna look back from a year and see the agenda and get a good idea, oh, okay, I know what we're talking about here, and then go to the minutes and reconcile that with the topic point here, and like, oh, I'm good with that, you know, type of. I think that's the goal. Unless I'm totally off base, I mean, tell me, please.
Okay, since my technology was messing up on me, I'll pull this over to your point, Chad. But this is the example I was trying to pull up here. This is based off of input from ISAC and Robert's Rules of Order, so this is just a kind of a general overview. Can you see over my head, Mark?
Because the formats include certain items, you know, the dates, the times, you know, locations, if it changes, locations don't have to be put on there if the meeting is routinely, regularly, always type of here. It's only a few letter spaces, so why not put it on there?
To your point, Mark, so you go back to new business, budget reviews, that's a little bit general, but it covers everything that we talked about. From the 9 or 10 department heads and elected officials that need to get into budgets, we can go into a lot more detail there. The personnel assessment, that was the thing we did with Mr. Buffington. I put comprehensive plan review update, we need to get into that at some point. Space allocation, so those would have been examples of new items to discuss today. Does that answer your question? It's a little more detailed.
No, I'm fine, but nothing new can be brought up, that's not on the agenda.
Well, again, that seems to be a
That's my question.
point of contention. So we'll get some clarification, that's why we have a county attorney.
And, you know, I think this is in the off-ramp to get changed up a little bit, but that off-ramp might be, you know, it might be a couple weeks long. I don't see anything that has to be just right now. I think we can try to do it to the best of our ability and get it done right, so.
I would agree.
Any further, I mean, Mark, do you have any preferences on formatting or anything?
Whatever works is fine, I don't have any problem with that.
You know, I for one, not being much of the parliamentary as kind of obvious here, but I like something that I can follow along with. I can make notes on, you know, who made a motion, who made a second, you know, vote. I guess that's me, so. we'll continue to work on this and put something together, and then we'll have, the legal department look at it and make sure that it fits our criteria for legals, you know, opinion on our weekly meetings and everything, so.
From a format standpoint.
Yeah, from a format standpoint, yeah, so, we'll go from that. Anything further on that one?
No.
Supervisor Subcommittees. Steve?
I went to Russ this week, yesterday as a matter of fact. Only a couple of items that came up. Down in Argyle, if you folks are familiar with that nice little community, we had to put in some new pumps down there, so that's fairly pricey. And we did 3 new pumps down there through Russ. And then Russ also signed an environmental contract with Louisa County. They do the same thing they do for us as Henry County, and they also work with Des Moines County. So they work with 3 counties to provide environmental health. And that was it from Russ. I do have a Southeast Iowa Regional Planning meeting next Thursday that I mentioned, so that'll be fairly lengthy. It's the first meeting of the year, so lots of board placements and a lot of voting going on with that. And from subcommittees, that's it for me.
Back to the Argyle, so they were asking for a concession stand restroom type of sewer system for their town ballpark, is that right?
Some years ago, yeah, I think that's just a carryover, and they've never ever done anything with it because they're not in a position to do anything new or different, just from a financial aspect. These 3 new pumps push their monthly fee up to $94.83, I think. So they're the highest in the group. So they don't have an appetite to do that any longer. I think that's all sitting out there just pending in case something should come up.
I knew from years ago, the pumps were having to be replaced on a pretty regular basis or something on,
Yeah.
for whatever reason down there, I'm not sure.
It was a design flaw, and for some reason it passed through the master matrix and should never have done, and now USDA won't approve that type of a plan anymore. So yeah, to your point, it's probably one of the first systems.
Mark?
I had DCAT last week, and we went over our budget and expenditures. Everything is in line, doing fine, and we had a presentation from Behavioral Health District, from our District 6, and so happened with Sarah Barrett, they gave that presentation, working with behavioral, the ASO, and an overview of the procedure that goes through with the mental health study, or how that goes through and everything works, which is it was a nice presentation, so, and a better understanding for our DCAT board, so that was the main emphasis.
I did not have anything this week. I've been spending most days in here at the courthouse, trying to fulfill a FOIA request on my personal phone, my email, my county emails, all that stuff, trying to get that downloaded and all filed out and everything, so that's quite time consuming, and frankly, somebody's pretty bored with what they're finding on my stuff, so.
To follow that up with Chad, I've also spent a significant amount of time this week filling this Freedom of Information request. And Freedom of Information requests are fine, obviously it's legal and lawful, but we're spending a significant amount of personal time researching that. And so in the near future, mobile phones, like, don't call me on this phone, you guys. I won't answer it. So we're gonna get countywide phones, and we'll work with Gunner on that, or I'm not gonna answer my phone, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, for the, and I'll echo that. I plan on coming in on Tuesdays and Thursdays and checking the desk phone here for any messages that somebody wants to talk to me, because, you know, my private phone, that exposes all my private numbers, that exposes all my private contacts to people, and what they want to do with it, I don't know. I'll comply.
Yeah, that's, until we do something about a county phone system, if there's a phone system, cell phone, if the public, if basically everybody wants us to have a cell phone, that will be provided by the county. I won't use mine for county business anymore. You know, it's too bad that people can't reach out and talk about the, you know, whatever their concerns are. If you want to do that, my telephone number is right here. I'll be glad to give business cards. Just keep in mind that rings right in here, so.
And the other thing I would have to say with that, echoing what Chad was said, is just because somebody can see me on that camera and I'm on my cell phone, it doesn't mean I'm talking on county business, folks. I could be calling my doctor, my veterinarian, my wife. So just because you happen to see that on the video, doesn't make it county business. That's a bad assumption. Gunner's been spending a significant amount of time with these freedom of information requests as well, correct?
Yeah, sometime on it, yeah.
That's a county expense. And while they're illegal, they all add up. We're talking significant hours. And we mentioned this before, and this is not the first time. We expect to charge a fee to recoup the cost to the county, whether that's through IT or going through the lawyers to redact that. But this is not the first time I've mentioned this. We've mentioned this way back in December when Ms. Patton made a request, which I don't think has been fulfilled yet. We did that with some other folks, and so we're gonna continue. I think Tracy even asked for that a week ago. And I reiterated that we're gonna start asking for reimbursement for the fees that it costs us to be able to provide the information. Anything else, Jeff?
Anything further? I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, I'm sorry, public
Unless you
comment?
don't wanna do it.
No, that's fine. Bob, I saw you first, I'm sorry.
Okay, Steve, would you scroll your agenda type sample down a little bit there?
Up or down?
I scroll it down so we get up towards the top.
Oh.
Okay. When I was chair of the utility board for a couple, 3 terms, we had the roll call, and then we had the approval of the agenda, the consent agenda, and then we had what we called open forum. And that way, if anybody had been reading the agenda and wanted to speak about a certain item, while, say, Jake was still here or Rich was still here, because a lot of times these guys will get up and leave after their part of the meeting's over with. That way, in open forum, the general public could specify an item, bring it up, and discuss it. So the public comment wasn't always at the end of the meeting, but it was after you approved your minutes, your agenda and consent agenda. Then they had open forum. I don't know if that would fall in place here to help out any or not.
Yeah, Tracy Rand with the Hawkeye newspaper. Steve's correct. Mississippi Valley Publishing, on behalf of the Hawkeye, did send a Freedom of Information Act request for the county's audit of the IT department. And in that, I sent it to the county attorney as per the discussion last week. I did request confirmation that the request was received. I understand there's time involved in getting that together, and that's absolutely, you know, fine, but I would like a confirmation from someone that has the ability to do so, that the request isn't out in the ether somewhere. You know, I didn't get a bounce back from anything, but I also didn't get the confirmation that it was received. So I don't know, I've got cards here that everything but my home address and even a GIS search would get you on my doorstep real fast. So if you need If you don't have it, do you have it already?
No, I'll trade you.
Yeah, sure. So I'll just give you all three of them so y'all have it. So, just wanna make sure you got my contact information and, I am required to answer my personal cell, so anyway, thank you. I just would like to have that receipt confirmed. Thanks.
To piggyback off of that, I made a FOIA request in December and Gunnar has assured me he's working on it, which is fine. But I think there needs to be a policy in place to confirm and then also to notify of a potential cost so that anybody making a FOIA request, because if it's gonna be $20 or $1,000, I'm assuming people may change what they ask for or, limit the term or whatever. So I would encourage you to make a formal process available to people making that FOIA request. So when an email is sent with a FOIA request, you get a response back saying, we've received your FOIA request, we're working on it, and if the charge is over, you can set the amount, $100. We will notify you in advance of preparing that or something to that effect. A comment on the agenda, one thing I've noticed on multiple agendas is other business. So that's also a place where things can be brought up that were not on the agenda under old or new business. So that might be something you would want to consider. Thank you.
Anybody else?
You talked about how, you're not super versed with government lingo. At the city, they have an agenda preview that goes with the agenda, and it explains each agenda item and like what the motion would be, like how they would go about that agenda item, what it's for, what the history is. And so to your point of going back and looking, 2 years ago, what did this agenda item entail? That's kind of where that agenda preview helps you understand what the agenda item was or what was discussed, what the motion was for. So I would urge you guys to look at that if that's an option. I know that coming from, so if that's just the agenda, it would be on page, if you go to their website, it's page 3 and 4, it's usually a 4-piece.
I just had to pull that up for Jake because it said Iowa State. Yeah, I know we lost it, okay.
For media, it's nice because we get a little more of an understanding of what you're going to discuss, and for the public too. So, just a thought.
Thank you.
I've also seen, I know Des Moines County does this, they have an agenda packet. So it actually has, like, they've been discussing their wind ordinance. So attached to the agenda is whatever the ordinance is, or Jake's stuff is already preloaded. So people can look at that as well. So I know that's a big step, and that might not be now, but that might be something to look at in the future.
Anything further? Tom?
Aren't we glad we live in the 2026? If you go back to 1860, Abraham Lincoln said, no one man has enough memory to be a successful liar. Therefore, we've got films today to register everything.
Thank you.
I understand that you all are putting in a lot of work dealing with FOIA requests, and I know some of them are reasonable and some of them aren't. But one of the issues is the data is so bad that citizens do have to make FOIA requests in order to get the information. For example, looking at the information dealing with the county attorney, it's really bad. So if I wanted to really make a statistical analysis of what's going on in the county attorney's office, it would require a FOIA request. That's my comment.
Thank you. Going. We are adjourned. Turn from the chair.
Why couldn't you just put a slide? Well, there you have it. Please do me a favor and give this episode a like. Follow and subscribe. It's free. Thanks for watching. And of course, thanks to my sponsors, Griner Auto Body, Car Doctor, McDonald Boneyard, Your Choice Family Restaurant, Girling Repair, B&B Propane, and the family of Jet Stops, CW Tree Trimming LLC, and Iowa Technology Systems. I'm your host, John Bain. Stay friendly, Southeast Iowa.